remedy and the dawning thereof?
Yeah, so just to recap, and this actually goes to my point. One of the things that the forces of mind control have preyed on is triggering reflexes and then having a mass amount of human response go to the thing that they're controlling. So one of the things that I did, and I've been working very closely with Mickey Willis and others to fact check the fact checkers. One of the things that I thought was really helpful is to actually make sure that when people go back and look at this particular video and they go, well, that was a fact check and Snoop said something else. Sasha, you said something, and I want to give us the first step of this process, which is we as holders of a story of a beautiful humanity also have the accountability to make sure that what we say and how we say it can survive the easy, clean kills. Because if we can't do that, then we are in that unfortunate same spot. So I just want the record to be clear, because people are going to go back and they're going to say this happened. The World Patent Association in Geneva, the World Intellectual Property Office, patent application number for Bill Gates's patent is 2020, and then it is 060606. Now, if one, and this is an important point to Dr. Lewis, I grew up the son of Mennonite pastors for 14 generations in America. So I can preach the entire way, Genesis to Revelation. I can make up stuff in the middle. So the good news is I've been around the block a little bit. But it's important to understand that the fact that there are 3 6s in sequence could be a homage to the mark of the beast. It could be a thumbing the nose of the myths of the mark of the beast. It could be the height of arrogance in going, look, I'm going to be the beast, right? There are so many different ways that could be constructed that the fact that the metaphor is existent in the reality, to Dell's point, is a little bit of the which part of the matrix are you in? Because this is a perspective matrix. And when you bring a worldview, it turns out that the worldview self-manifests. So did he pick 666? I don't know. Did the patent office pick 666? I don't know. Was this a thumb your nose at every religion? It doesn't even matter, because all of it is perspectival. But what we have done is I have, since March of this year, been calling for any lawyer on the planet to challenge the opening assumption that, number one, there is a novel coronavirus, and number two, that there is actually a disease called COVID-19. Thankfully, on April the 27th, I recorded a video, and a new lawyer in Massachusetts, who, Aaron, you would love, because this lawyer actually is taking a beautiful argument against the governor of Massachusetts, saying that the deprivation of the Eucharist is actually a immortal problem. This is actually not just, I didn't get to go to Mass and I didn't get to do confession, that the closure of the Eucharist actually jeopardizes his eternal soul. That was the argument that was being constructed. And the beautiful thing about this case was this young lawyer called me and she goes, you're the only person who I've seen actually get the bookends. The start of coronavirus, when Dr. Ralph Baric started messing it with cardiomyopathy in rabbits in the 1980s and 90s, which none of us actually seem to recall. That this used to be a cardiotoxin, and it still is a cardiotoxin, but it was only in the manipulation of it that we actually got it into the lungs. So it was an amazing story. And in 1999, we got it to go to the lungs, which itself is an interesting story. But I asked any lawyer on the planet to actually challenge the assumption that there was novelty and the assumption there was a disease. And thankfully, on Thursday, the 17th, the first federal case has been filed against the governor of Massachusetts. And in it, I got to write the language that I have been asking to see manifest. So the good news is I was my own prophet. I said somebody should do it, and lo and behold, it was the me that was the somebody that should do it. But what we have done is we've challenged the veracity of the existence of this in the first place, because, and we have good reason to do it, on the 17th of January, when the alleged modified strain was uploaded to allege that this is a new virus, the actual upload included 100% of things that already were documented to not only be SARS, but chimeric alterations of SARS. So this was not a new thing in December. It was not a new thing in January. It is a thing that has been a mutation of things that were manipulated. And by 2015, we know that the mutation of the spike protein and the mutation of the receptor binding domain had successfully been done. That was a fact. It was done. So the idea that even the concept of what is purported to be new is false. And what we did was we challenged the Massachusetts governor to actually prove that he had a basis in any reality to even hypothecate the existence of a disease. Because the fact of the matter is, in his executive order issued on March the 10th, he stated that coronavirus causes COVID-19. Now, on March the 2nd, 8 days earlier, the World Health Organization did backflips and handstands and the most convoluted yoga to make sure that they didn't lie, to say, it turns out there is a virus, and it turns out we're going to call a disease by a series of symptoms, but we are going to make sure they're distinct. But on the 10th of March, the governor of Massachusetts decided to bring those two realities together, which he can't do. They were actually invented separately. They were created separately, and they were stipulated separately. And the cool thing about contract law is if an opening recital of a contract is false, meaning that if you say coronavirus causes COVID-19 or COVID is caused by coronavirus, that as an opening stipulation makes everything that follows false. That's like me saying that on Tuesday, because I have suspended gravity, we can all walk around on our hands. Well, the problem with that statement would be, on Tuesday, I didn't suspend gravity. If a opening precedential statement is made and that statement is false, everything that follows is false.
Brilliant.
And for the very first time in any court of law, we have challenged the fundamentals for the following reason. I think that as much as, and Del, man, I couldn't agree more with on Easter, right? On Easter of all times, but it's not just Easter, it's Passover and Ramadan, right? This was the three denials of all dimensions. This was not just the three denials of Peter, right? This was a denial in every dimension. This was an affront to everything. But worse still, and here's the part that I get my religious friends upset about, we actually pissed on the idol of science too. Did you hear what I said? We actually even took the idolatry of science, and we pissed on that too. Because the fact of the matter is, on that same weekend, the same weekend when we denied our faith, when we denied our communities, when we denied our cultures, we also on that same holy week decided to lie about the actual thing that we said we were doing, and that was we lied about virology and we lied about what it constitutes to be science. We took all the gods and we burned them. And that is the thing where if we then go and say, to whom do you now appeal? The emperor in every dimension has no clothes because the emperor has no clothes. The rhino is dead. The illusion is over. The ability to actually have a governor not only be accountable for this, but now I have thousands of people filling out their Form 95s, taking personal claims against the Department of Health and Human Services, We have, for the first time, I shudder to think what it's like to be in their offices right now, because it's a sleeping law office that never gets any correspondence. And now all of a sudden, thousands of people are deluging it with Form 95 saying that the corruption, the antitrust violations, the Domestic Terrorism Act violating Section 804 of the Patriot Act, all of the legal constraints around antitrust and RICO are all headquartered at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which is where all the claims are going. That sleepy little office that never got correspondence is now flooded every day with people filling out Form 95 saying you are now personally responsible for conducting a criminal conspiracy that has harmed us. Now, what does that do? What it does is it helps accelerate the visibility of the end of the illusion. None of it by itself matters in an individual instance, but taken collectively, this is a moment where each and every single one of us on this planet have the ability to say, enough. We will not suffer based on a fear of a thing that's not to fear. I was asked one time when I was ending a civil war in Papua New Guinea, I was asked how it was that I could walk into the barrel of an M16 when a guy said, if you move one step further, I'll shoot you. And I moved not only one step, I moved all the way into his gun barrel. So it was actually pressed right against my chest. And everybody asked me, well, how did you do that? And I said, the funny thing is, I had nothing to lose.
Wow.
I had nothing to lose. And they said, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, here's a funny little deal. Before I was born, my mom prayed that if I ever arrived on this planet, she made a deal with the universe. She said, if I get a son, I'll give him back. I didn't even get a moment of my own time because my mom gave me away before I arrived. And here's the importance of that. And I'm dead serious about this. When you know that you are here to fulfill the purpose you're here to do, and that's why you're here, then the cool thing is you do your purpose. If that means walking into the barrel of a gun, you find out whether or not your purpose or that gun is more important. And the fact of the matter is, that's where all of us can be now. Every single one of us can declare our ability to live our divine purpose. And our divine purpose is to listen to somebody like Anthony Fauci say, we're not going to hug anymore, and make it abundantly clear that when we greet people, we freaking embrace them, kiss them on the cheek, love on them, shake their hands, do everything you can to say, no, as human, I choose life. And watch how many times, to Dell's point, the mask falls off, right? The facade falls away, because humans will always rise to their highest state when they see their highest state modeled. And that, my friends, is up to all of us. That's what we're doing on this call. That is up to all of us. Because if we choose to model that which we were made to be, others will have the courage to do it too.